Good morning. Good morning. I'm Kathy Spooner. Got tongue tied for a minute. I'm Kathy Spooner, and today I want to talk about having an intentional plan using parents in the play therapy process when you're working with children and adolescents. Because to me, the question is, can children make really long term positive treatment outcomes if you're not involving parents or caregivers into the treatment process? And I think most play therapists, child and adolescent therapists, mental health professionals, I think most of you do integrate parents somehow into the play therapy process because I think that's how most of us have learned to do it in the beginning. It's certainly how I did it in the beginning. And then somewhere along the line, early on, I began to realize I was getting really tired answering a lot of questions in between sessions. I was having a really hard time getting some parents to meet with me, and I was noticing the child wasn't making very good progress, not like I knew could be made. And so somewhere along the line, I realized, if I don't make a shift here and really think about this in a different way, then I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to get burned out. And I know from supervising mental health professionals, working with children, adolescents, and families, even, I know that you get burned out and frustrated also when your client isn't making as much progress they as you think they need to be making, and you're having a hard time figuring out how to get parents more involved. And for me, that's why it's really important to have a plan and be really intentional. Because here's the thing, children are not the agents of change in their lives. So, what does that mean? What is an agent of change? And more importantly, what's a therapeutic agent of change? And can your client really make progress without that therapeutic agent of change actively involved in the treatment process? And here's the other thing, what if you had the family in the play therapy sessions or parts of the family? What would that look like? So that's what I want to talk about today. Um, having a plan, being more intentional about what that looks like, and the benefit of doing that for your child and adolescent clients. So I'm Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, a registered play therapist supervisor with almost 30 years experience working with children, adolescents, and families in the mental health field. Prior to working in the mental health field, I was a special education teacher, working with children with emotional problems in a self-contained classroom in the elementary age. So I did a lot of work with the school social worker and the psychologist. And that's actually where I found out about play therapy, was from the school social worker and school psychologist back in the mid 1980s. So that's what I want to talk about today. So I have been using play therapy and expressive arts pretty exclusively for about 20 years now. And I really found that it it really has been a game changer for helping my child and adolescent clients, because with play therapy, it really is geared more towards their unique developmental needs in the treatment process. And so now I help child and adolescent therapists, play therapists, learn how to integrate play therapy and expressive arts effectively and confidently, and I'll throw in a little bit of ethically, into the treatment process so that you can help your clients really achieve those treatment outcomes and really long-term positive changes in their lives. And so I do that through an online supervision group. And I also provide play therapy and expressive arts trainings. Currently, most of those trainings are online. So, also, I go live every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time. I will go live onto LinkedIn and YouTube and in my Facebook group, Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. So if you're on Facebook and you want to get into my group, you can go over and join. Make sure you answer the questions. So if you are joining me today, please go ahead and post your name in the comments. I'd love to see who's here. Post your name, where you're from, what population do you work with, how do you integrate parents into the play therapy process? Are you using family play therapy? So go ahead and post that in the comments. Let's see who's here today joining us. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and post your name in the comments, where you're from, what population you work with, and are you using family play therapy, and how are you integrating parents into the treatment process? So first and foremost, let's talk about what exactly do I mean when I am talking about therapeutic agents of change. You probably have a good idea of what that means. Anytime we use therapeutic, I think that's what captured my attention with this term when I heard it. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is brilliant, and so spot on and important to think about. What is a therapeutic agent of change? Get my mouth to work. And more importantly, who are the therapeutic agents of change? So a therapeutic agent of change is really that person who has the ability to facilitate change. So the who is parents or caregivers. It can also be the childcare workers in the daycare center, or teachers, or school counselors, or school social workers. These are the adults in the child's life who have the ability to help bring about the necessary changes and to help the child to do that. Because after all, children are not masters of their world. Adults are in charge, and adults are the change agents for the children. And children need their parents or caregivers. So when I say parents, and also is people filling in a parenting role. So any caregiver who is fulfilling that kind of parenting role for the child, like if children are living with grandparents or foster care, or in the daycare setting, or even in a school setting, these therapeutic agents or change are the people in the child's life who can help them regulate those strong emotions. Because here's the thing, if you're teaching children coping skills in your play therapy session, they're calm, they're relaxed, they're engaged, and they're regulated. So teaching an 8-year-old coping skills and then sending them out into the world to figure out how to use those coping skills all by themselves is not really setting them up for success. Because when they get really overwhelmed, their ability to advocate for themselves and to say to a teacher, I'm dysregulated at the moment and I need you to help me with this coping skill, they're not going to be able to do that. They need adults to co-regulate with them to help them learn how to use those coping skills, learn how to get regulated. And that's an important part of the treatment process. So figuring out who are the therapeutic agents of change for your client is a really important part of the treatment process. So to me, that brings me to my next point, which is how do you integrate parents in the play therapy process? I think probably the most common way I hear people talk about, and I did this as well until I got frustrated because I saw that it wasn't working. Now, I mean, it worked for some really highly motivated and well functioning parents who kind of intuitively knew what to do. We often get parents that struggle, that they don't know what to do. They really need more help in order to help them be the parent they want to be and to help their child the way they want to help their child. To do that, you need to really have a plan, more intentional integration of parents into the treatment process. So I think the most common way people in the mental health field, most of you are having parents come in and maybe into the office for the last 5 minutes. It's never 5 minutes. And give them an update on how things are going. Or you're walking your child client out to the waiting room and you're giving parents a quick rundown there in the waiting room. And maybe you're getting phone calls or texts or emails in between sessions from parents and you're responding to those. Here's the thing though, and that I found that's the most common way of doing thing, and I really don't think that's the most effective way. And here's why. And this is usually where I get looks from people like, or meaning they're not really convinced. And what I'm doing is I'm asking you to make a change. And here's why I'm going to advocate for making this change. Couple of things. How is the child perceiving that? I mean, I know that the child knows that you talk to their parents. How are you talking to the parents in front of the child? What's being said? How is the child experiencing that? The other thing is it really helping to facilitate that deeper level change? Is the parent really building that rapport with you? So when you ask them to make uncomfortable changes, are they following through with it? Are they doing it? Do they even know how? There are, in my opinion, there's a more effective way to do it, which is have a dedicated time. I call those drive-through parent meetings. Don't do the drive-through parent meetings. Instead, have a dedicated time when you meet with parents every month at least. Like I would tell parents, here's how I work. I meet with your child every week and we do the play therapy sessions, and at least in the beginning, I'm going to meet with parents at least once a month, maybe more, but at least once a month in a separate session in which the child is not present. And in that session, we're going to talk about what's going on. I'm going to get feedback from you because the child is with you most of the time. They're with me 45 minutes a week if you're in a traditional outpatient setting. And our time together talking in that dedicated session with you, parent, I'll get feedback from you. I'll give you feedback. We'll come up with a plan. We'll kind of strategize how to help your child, and we'll have that time to do that. Here's the benefit of doing it that way. You're building rapport with the parent. So when you have to ask them to do things that are uncomfortable, you have that relationship with them. You've had a dedicated time for some privacy in which you don't have to worry about what the child is hearing and what you're saying about the child, and then what are they doing with that information. you have that dedicated private time to do that. That, to me, is a much more effective way of engaging parents with more intention in the play therapy process. Here's the other thing. What if you engaged a parent with the child in the play therapy sessions and you worked on doing some of that skill building, depending on the age of the child? You worked on strengthening that attachment relationship, helping parents learn with their child about co-regulation. What is co-regulation? How can they help their child with co-regulation? You're really strengthening that secure attachment relationship so that the child will be able to use their parent, because after all, they're with their parent for the rest of their lives. Typically, that's always the hope. They're only with you for a brief moment of time. They're not with you their whole lives. So why not strengthen that relationship? So LinkedIn user says, great. So what, I'm curious, LinkedIn user, I can't see your name. I think maybe sometimes, I think LinkedIn, you have to give permission on LinkedIn for StreamYard as well. I'm not real sure how that works on LinkedIn on the user side. Anyway, I'm curious, what population do you work with? Do you see children and adolescents? Are you using play therapy? So parents in the play therapy process, if you integrate them more, you can see the dynamic. You can see the relationship patterns. You can reinforce and strengthen that attachment relationship, that the child will then be able to tell their parent things that are going on, go to their parent when they're struggling. Parent will now have the skills to help regulate their child. Parent will now be the therapeutic agent of change. And that, to me, is the ultimate goal, helping parents be the therapeutic agents of change for their children, because they're going to be with their children the rest of their life anyway. Hopefully, that's always the goal. And also, here's the other thing. And we talk about this a lot when I do play therapy trainings, I'll talk about integrating parents. In fact, I do have an attachment-based family play therapy training coming up next month in May, talking a lot about the topic of, what about getting the family in the play therapy sessions? Think about the relationship patterns. If you are not a home-based therapist going into the home and seeing the dynamics in the home, then you're missing a lot. So typically in an outpatient type of setting, or even a school setting, you don't have the ability to really see those relationship patterns within the family. You don't have the ability to see how parents are managing all the different ages within the child's family system, because children live within their families. Coral, there we go. I work with children using play therapy as well as you do equine therapy. That is awesome. Really enjoying what you're saying about involving the parents. Most definitely. I am really a really strong advocate for being much more intentional about involving parents and the whole family, because I've seen the difference. Even as a therapist. I was less frustrated. I felt, we get into the mental health profession because we want to help people. We want to make a difference in people's lives. And when you're not seeing that happen, it can be really frustrating. For me, kind of a setup for burnout in many ways, which is, to me, why it's important to take a step back and think about, okay, what is going on here? what's not working. Because as a therapist, I'm kind of in charge of the process, so kind of falls on me to figure out what needs to happen, and maybe I need to go about doing it a different way. And involving parents much more in the play therapy process is really important. Like, Coral, I'd be curious, are you having maybe parents do those equine sessions with their child? Having parents be involved in those equine sessions. I remember I worked in a residential treatment program here. I live in the West Coast here in the United States, and I live in Southern Nevada. I was working in Southern Utah, which, by the way, Southern Utah is absolutely beautiful. So if you are not in that area, it is really a beautiful place to go and kind of reconnect. And the landscape is absolutely beautiful. Good vacation destination. But in the treatment center that I worked in the residential program, they use equine therapy. And one of the things that they regularly did and still do, which is when we have parent weekends, having parents do the equine sessions with their children is so amazing to watch. And oftentimes what you would find, these were adolescents, the kids were teaching their parents how to do it. And that was really an amazing thing to watch. So that was really cool. And you can, yeah. So Coral says, yes, I would like to do that. I would, yes, Utah. Are you from that area, Coral? Utah is beautiful. And I would highly recommend integrating parents um, into the process. And here's the thing. What about the whole family? You get the family in the play therapy sessions, you get much more of a sense of your client and the context in which they're living within those relationships. Because here's the thing, your client brings their family with them in the sessions, but you don't necessarily get to see how that plays out in real time, so to speak, unless you have the whole family in there. And usually when I bring this up to people that I supervise, they kind of look at me like, that sounds like an awful idea, overwhelmed. And that's one of the things I love teaching therapists, how to use an attachment-based family play therapy. That's pretty much the kind of the framework that I use, which with play therapy, which is a neuroscience and attachment lens. And using a neuroscience and attachment lens in the family play therapy sessions gives you a really nice framework to help you navigate that decision making through the treatment process and how to do that. So if you have a play therapy model, like an attachment-based play therapy model, integrating in the family so that you can see the relationship patterns, the dynamics, you can help create a shift. You can even help strengthen already positive things going on in the family. Think about it. Play is fun for children. And what a great way to strengthen those relationships within the family system and remind them why they love each other. Because, you lived in a family, we all have, especially growing up. And if you're a parent and you have little children, then kids get on each other's nerves. So being able to create those stronger relationships, or even strengthen those relationships and sibling relationships, I think we kind of forget about the importance of sibling relationships in the play therapy and expressive arts world. And siblings are an important part of our learning how to deal with people and navigate conflict and do give and take in relationships with peers. And if you have the family in there, how are parents navigating all of those different relationships and ages. I have done family play therapy with families, um, divorced families with like a step parent and the parent where I had like a 2-year-old, uh, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7, 8, and 9. I think we had like 7 people in that session, and we were doing family play therapy. There was a lot of um, really challenging things that had gone on for this family, and they were really, really struggling. And the parents were really, really struggling to figure out how to help their children and help their family. And they struggled with parenting. Some of our clients come from family histories where they didn't necessarily get modeled to them really effective parenting. And so helping parents in the play therapy session use co-regulation skills, learn how to be more effective with their children, but also have fun. Just that therapeutic aspect of having fun with their children is healing. That's the whole foundation of play therapy, is using those therapeutic powers of play for healing. And from a play therapy's perspective, play is the therapeutic agent of change. And as play therapists, learning how to help your clients access those therapeutic powers of play is a critical part of the healing process. Um, so Coral said, "Oh, from Scotland. Oh, that's awesome. Visited Utah equine. Yes, equine therapy is huge, huge, huge in southern Utah. And I think there's a lot of residential treatment programs in Utah. And they do use a lot of equine therapy. Plus, Utah is really, really outdoorsy. So people like to get out and go hiking and rappelling and camping. It's big here in the southern Utah area. Um, so being able to use family play therapy can be really helpful for your clients in the change process, because they're going to be with their family long after they're no longer working with you. And so, to me, being able to really facilitate a shift for your clients really is using family play therapy is a really helpful way to do that. And even think about it, if maybe you have adolescent clients and maybe there's addiction in the family system with one of the parents, so that parent would probably not be able to participate in the play therapy sessions. And maybe if the siblings are all adolescents, maybe strengthening those sibling relationships and using some attachment-based family play therapy with siblings, or maybe attachment-based play therapy with parents and children, or one parent and one child. Different variations. There's so many ways that you can use attachment-based family play therapy to help your clients really get a stronger support network, to feel connected. After all, we are wired to connect. And so helping your clients connect with the primary people in their lives can be a really important part of the healing process for them. So that is it for today. Let me just do a quick recap. So the therapeutic agents of change: children need their parents or caregivers to be actively involved in the treatment process, because parents are the facilitators of change. Adults are the facilitators of change. Adults help create a different kind of environment by making some shifts that need to happen in order for children to feel like they can thrive a little bit more. And I think most of you, if you're working in the mental health field, working with children and adolescents, what you're finding is children are the aftermath, so to speak, of the pandemic. Hopefully, we're way on the other side of it at this point after 2 years. They're struggling. They're more anxious. Family systems are having to re-navigate. How are they navigating the world now? Masks, no masks. Are we socially distancing? Are we not socially distancing? Is school online? Is school not online? Are parents having to stay home because school is online? These are all some really big changes that happened in the world for children. And from a child's point of view, the likelihood they heard everybody's dying, that's a scary thing for a child, even a scary thing for adolescents. And adolescents need parents and caregivers to be their therapeutic agents of change, um, even as well as children. Um, so, so engaging parents as the therapeutic agents of change in the play therapy process is a really important part of helping them to heal. And doing that intentionally is going to be really important so that it's not just kind of parents, I meet with parents here or there. It's you have a plan for how parents are going to be involved. You're developing that therapeutic rapport with parents. So, and you're helping the parents be that therapeutic agent of change for their child in their child's healing process. And there's a difference when parents are involved kind of here and there, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes here or there, versus when you have an intentional plan of when you're going to meet with parents, how often you're going to meet with parents, what's going to be involved in that meeting, what are the expectations for participating, how are you communicating that to parents? And are parents feeling like they're heard and understood? That's part of the therapeutic rapport building, is helping parents feel heard and understood, because you're kind of the therapeutic agent of change for the parent, helping parent be the therapeutic agent of change for their child. And when you're using play therapy, you can help parents access those therapeutic powers of play with their child. And even better, in my opinion, is getting the family in there and having a model to be able to do that. Having a model in which you feel more confident and more comfortable knowing what the heck to do with all those people with different ages and stages. And what the heck happens? What do you do if somebody has a meltdown in the play therapy session? These are usually questions that I get asked when I'm doing supervision and helping play therapists integrate play therapy. I will inevitably make the case for one, most definitely talking about a different way, more intentional way to involve parents, and getting the family in there and using an attachment-based family play therapy model to help the child within their primary relationships. Within children come to us within context, and that means they come to us within the context of those family relationships. And whether or not the family is physically present, they are there with the child in their values, in their beliefs, in the ways in which they interact with other people. So they have their unique individual personality. And then I always say you have the personality of the family that comes with them. So that is it for today. Thank you for joining me today, especially all the way from Scotland. That was awesome. I love hearing about what other people are doing outside of the US as well as inside of the US here as well. So I do, if you're interested, I do have the training for attachment-based family play therapy. It's an online virtual training, lots of experiential activities, talking about how to effectively and confidently use an attachment-based family play therapy model to help your clients really, really make some significant shifts in their healing journey. And so that's going to be May 21st. It's online, so it's a virtual participation. If you are interested in finding out more about the training, you can go to my website, which is rrhcounseling.com/courses. If you look to the bottom of this video, you'll see my fancy scroll across the bottom here. And there is an early bird, if 20% discount if you register, pay and register before midnight on April 23rd. There is a 20% discount. You can use this code when on the checkout page. So hop on over there and check out the training, and I will see you next week. Bye.